So what we're doing here is the setup script from the Linux Toolbox, and we're going to get through all of these things that you see before you. The big things: wine dependencies, Steam, Proton, and like Mango HUD and G-Overlay, and making these agnostic, meaning we're going to be Debian, Fedora, and also Arch. So those three will encompass most, if not all, the distributions. Yeah, well, at least we caught it like at the very beginning. I think this is great. So I think let's get started here. We are crunched for time today. So this might be a two-parter. It will be a two-parter. I never get anything done in an hour and a half. So we're going to create a new, and we're going to call this one Linux Setup. I don't like using caps in my repo name. So we're going to go Linux Setup. And the description of this repo will be the ultimate Linux setup script for Arch, Debian, and Fedora. Let's add a README, Git template, Bash. Do we have a Bash Git template? No, we don't. Well, I mean, obviously you don't really need a Git ignore template for this. License. I'm a big MIT guy. MIT's like, I know some people are like, people are going to steal your work or use GPL so it stays open source if someone steals something. I don't care. I just really like a very simple license and just say, here, you guys do what you want. This is really for everyone to use. It means if you're a business, if you're a personal, if you want to take this and do whatever you want with it. I'm a big fan of MIT. Just, it's the least restrictive of all licenses. And I like to do everything just right out in the open and just say, here you go, have fun. And that's the big thing. We're here to have fun. So let's go. Whew. Camel case sucks. Agreed. I'm a big fan of just lowercase everything. Although there is some rhyme or reason to camel case for a lot of the stuff we encounter, but this should be good. All right, so let's go over into our GitHub, and we're gonna just do a gh clone and Linux setup. Gh repo clone Linux setup. There we go. All right, so now we're rocking. Now, for the Linux setup, we're gonna have to, this is gonna be non-interactive because people are gonna just select what it is we're doing. We're gonna have our Excel draw to kind of go off of. First off is wine dependencies. Probably wine dependencies in Steam and Proton. Do we bundle all of that together? I think we do. Why not unlicensed? What's the difference? I don't know, Owen. It feels like if you don't put a license on something, that there's going to be that one guy that comes along and then just does a commit and just says, here's the most crazy GPL v3 / Apache version, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh, Lord. And then I have to explain to him, no, I just want a pretty simple MIT license. So I guess that's why we put a license on the stuff. Because I've had that. Like, I've had many projects I created and then I just didn't put a license because I don't care. And then all of a sudden I just get this weird license that gets appeared in the project because I accept like a PR that I liked, but it has like this crazy stuff. I've even had people submit like code of conduct and stuff, which, bro, what are you doing? I really don't care about code of conduct or licenses. These are just GitHub repos. I'm not trying to recreate the world here. We're just having fun. We're learning. We're doing fun stuff and improving people's lives. Hopefully. So I don't need any of that noise. Let's go. I bet you have not read the MIT license. I know it's 2 paragraphs. Is I guess you want to read the MIT license? Oh, fine. Phoenix MIT license. Let's go. Here we go. The MIT license. Here we go. Permission is hereby granted free of charge to any person obtaining a copy of the license and associated documented files to deal in the software without restriction, including without limitation, the rights to use, copy, modify, merge, publish, distribute, sublicense, and or sell copies of the software, and to permit persons to whom the software is furnished to do so, subject to the following conditions. The above is copyright notice, and permission notice shall be included in copies or substantial portions of the software. The software is provided as is, without warranty of any kind, express or implied, including but not limited to the warranties of merchantability, fitness, for particular purpose, and non-infringement. In no event shall the authors or copyright holders be liable of any claim, damages, or other liability, whether in an inaction of contract, tort, or otherwise, arising from, out of, or in connection with the software or the use or other dealings in the software. There you go. There's the MIT license, guys. We've read it out loud. I just know it's really short, and I like it. So there you go. I haven't read it, but now I have. We're now signed it. There we go. Moving on. Just write code, not politics. Agreed, Davey. Agreed. Let's get it. Yes. All right, here we go. So we got that. Let's get some cursor. You guys know me. Let's get some cursor going too in the background. We are gonna go Linux setup script today. Yeah, let's go tiling. All right. First order of business, our bash script. How do we want to do this? I think what we're going to do here is kind of copy what we've done in probably the my bash setup, and then take that, kind of clean it up a little bit, and then modify it to our needs. So this is currently the setup process of NeoVim, actually. Ooh. Yeah, NeoVim's a little bit more unique. So let's come into GitHub, my bash. Let's go setup script. Ooh, actually, yeah, let's just open that. And what we're going to do is just take my bash, copy it, and we're going to come and create a new folder. Or actually, we've already created it, the Linux setup, open, and we're going to just go new file, setup.sh, and we're going to just bring this in. So bash is a good one to start with, just because my bash has some basic dependencies. It's already kind of got our flow, the Linux Toolbox directory. All projects going forward kind of wants to follow this format, and then we're going to modify it as we go, which should be good. Now read the other licenses. You need perspective. Oh, God, I don't have time to read a page-long license. I really don't. The 2 paragraphs, that's all the effort I have for today. I don't want to use all that brain power reading that when I could just start coding something cool. I know, short-sighted, but again, more fun. And I'm here to have fun. All right, so we've got this. So what we're doing right now, we are making definitions for the coloring of the bash install script. We have our Linux Toolbox creation of the directory. We're basically just doing if statements. Hey, does this directory exist? For the my bash, we're just going to change this to a Linux setup and just replace all of that. And then we see if the command exists of 1. What's that? What's this doing? Command exists. What am I doing with command exists? Oh, that's a function for, yeah. So I'm calling command right here for apt, zipper, DNF, and pacman. Okay. That's how we're checking what package manager and also the environment. An interesting way of doing it, another way of doing it is just kind of reading the etc OS release. That'd also be kind of cool too. Hey Titus, I am fairly new to Linux. I've tried Ubuntu and installed Arch the manual way. All right, you're already ahead of most people. Is it a bad idea to get into LFS? I know I am an idiot to ask, but why? I just want to know. Man, I'm glad you asked. That's a good one. That's a good one, Mad. We're all idiots when we start. And frankly, after 5 years, I still consider myself an idiot in a lot of things. So don't feel bad for asking questions. That's how you learn. You can't learn something you already think you know. So those guys are like, I know everything. They're even more of idiot because they can't learn anything else. They already think they know everything. So never think you know everything. It's always a bad thing. So first, I commend you for the self-deprecating statement. First, for Linux from scratch, I'll just make a little blurb. A lot of people are like, hey, when you finish Linux from scratch, all that, blah, blah, blah. Linux from scratch is a good way to really exercise the ability to, one, understand all the packages that make up Linux distribution, because you have to build them manually, each one. Can you use Linux from scratch on a daily basis? No. I mean, you can for very, very minute things, but everything has to be built from source because there is no package manager. There's no app, there's nothing. So everything takes way longer to do. The second thing, you don't get any security updates. And security updates are a big thing. You do need the security updates. Linux isn't just magically so secure right out of the gate and no one can hurt you because you're using Linux. That's just crazy. There are people, I have to say that out loud, just because there are people that are like, I'm no longer a Windows user, I'm a Linux user, I'm safe from everything. I'm like, no, that's not at all how that works, but okay. So let's get that out of the way. So what does Linux from scratch get you? It is a learning experience. If you've never built anything, and it also teaches about cross-compiling, meaning building packages for other systems other than your own. And it's good for those things. It's good to understand, hey, what does make up Linux? Because you have to build everything yourself. But you can't really use it as a daily driver unless you're just a crazy person. And that's really Linux from scratch. It's meant to be a fun exercise that takes 5 to 6 hours probably on average to build it all up and use. But you won't use it for very long. Inevitably, you'll get it working. You're going to spend many, many hours, maybe many days building it. And then afterwards, you're going to just delete it. And that's the Linux from scratch experience. It's great for an education. It's great for, it should honestly, it's like taking a semester-long class about learning something at a college. That's the Linux from scratch experience. It's an education, purely an educational experience. You will never use it. So that's the whole gist of it. It's almost kind of like a meme too. If you ever stream any kind of Linux content, just be prepared for people to constantly hound you to do Linux from scratch, because it's just fun to see people suffer through it. And that's all I have to say about that. I think that's a pretty, did I miss anything, chat? I don't think so. You need to learn more from, you learn more from installing Arch than Linux from scratch, at least useful stuffs. I agree with Phoenix on that. I learned so much installing Arch the manual way. It was so beneficial. I remember the first time installing Arch, I was like, oh, I get it now. That's awesome. A lot of Linux from scratch is really following a guide. How good are you at following a guide for like 4 hours and building stuff from source using tar and unextracting files? It's really an exercise in following instructions. And that's what I took from Linux from scratch. But then again, I've been doing Linux for quite some time, 5 years from a desktop perspective, but shoot, probably 20 years from a server's perspective. So I know terminal very, very well. So Linux from scratch to me was more of a waste of time than actually beneficial. And that just depends. Linux is like building a game for Pirate Software. I've never built a game, so I can't really comment on that. To me, I definitely wouldn't put it in that regard. I think for me, Linux is the ultimate operating system for customizability. If you want to change something in Linux, you can do that. You can do pretty much whatever it is you want to do in Linux. That's what Linux is to me. And maybe that's building a game. Again, not really a game dev, so I can't really comment on that. Yeah, I don't follow instructions well. Do not do Linux from scratch if you don't follow instructions well. That would not be good. And it's free. That's also another cool thing about Linux. All right, so, all right, getting focus. We got like another hour at least. So let's go. Packages, we're doing our package manager. We're doing a command exists. I wonder, it's kind of, we have two types of package managers here. For like a package handler, figuring out, hey, which one is it? I guess. So there's this way that we're doing it. And then we're calling the command down here as well, isn't it? Aren't we? Where was that command? Where are we calling command? Oh, command exists, yeah. Never mind. I'm an idiot. Yeah, we're using that function. Great. I just want to make sure we're using everything we've put here. All right, so install dependencies. This is where we add stuff. I almost want to just leave all these in because honestly, everyone should be, well, maybe not bash and bash completion. I think we can take those out. Most of those people already have that. And some people are ZSH users, so let's not. But trash CLI, TLDR, fast fetch, multi-tail, tree, and tar. I feel like everyone needs those packages in their life. Doesn't Chris continue the Rust Linux tool? So like a good example of what we're doing here is modular design. So as we're making the tool here, each one of these is its own repository project, meaning the tool's already very modular because I imagine this tool getting very, very big, but I want it to each section to kind of stand out on its own. The Linux Toolbox itself is Rust based, and it's essentially a menu that can leverage bash scripts. And what we're doing is making each one of these bash scripts a reality. Some of these already exist. We're just modifying them to take advantage of this design. Others don't exist. Like the system setup should exist already, but what I'm doing is just kind of taking what we've already developed with my bash and NeoVim and then making a system setup script. So you could just run this and it would set up most of these things right out of the gate. And I'm trying to think how much, let's think more on the actual design here. That's weird. It's just, oh, let's turn that off, huh? Yeah, okay, there we go. Yeah, unzip. Yeah, we need that as well. Let's see what packages we can do. I feel like there's packages that like everyone should use. Does anybody have any problems with these packages so far? But unzip would be another one. Let's see what else we have. Why did you pick fast fetch instead of neofetch? Neofetch is deprecated, so neofetch is no longer being designed, and neofetch is really old and slow as balls. So like you run here, I got it installed still. Let me just show you. So neofetch, there's neofetch, fast fetch, a little bit faster, right? It's subtle, but you can still pick it up even through stream. Neofetch, fast fetch, neofetch, fast fetch. Quite a bit difference in speed there. I would say neofetch is probably 10 times slower. I mean, it's a pretty drastic difference. But to answer your question, one, you get a little bit more customizability. I like the config files for fast fetch, and you can get a little more in depth for the detail, and it's way faster. Where neofetch is just kind of meh. It's old school. It still works. It's just a slow bash script, really. So that's it. Oh, time neofetch here. Let's see time neofetch. So you can see that is a whole real 0.265. Let's do fast fetch. And this is 0.065 or 62. So effectively 5 times faster. I mean, we're splitting hairs here, guys and gals. It's just, it is what it is. It is what it is. But I mean, a Xeon with 32 cores, it does definitely play a factor in things. Some people might say, Titus, you're not using the system to its full potential. And to you, I say, well, give it time. When we were doing Linux from scratch and we were building the Linux kernel and we got it done in like 3 minutes, that was kind of nice. Not doing that on a daily basis, but still kind of nice. Fast fetch doesn't exist in Debian 12 repos. Well, just grab the deb file. Just install it manually. That's the fix to that. Ooh, on a Pi? Ooh, Yeah, fast fetch versus neo fetch on a Pi would be brutal. Totally could see that, Rux. Yeah, let's look here. So fast fetch unzip. I feel like there's gonna be some issues there with fast fetch. Here, let's just remove fast fetch because that is not in some of the Debian 12 repos, and we want to make sure that we have everything here. Do we set up? Yeah, probably make sudo. Let's see what else. The big thing here is build dependencies. Specifically, so here's pacman else install YQ dependencies. The dependencies for this is going to get a little tricky because there's many things when you're setting up a dev for like building packages that you want in every system. I think the very first thing we do here is grab build dependencies like build-devil and those types of things. Let's look at what packages we have installed here. Pacman, Q, what is it? Q, is it QI? Oh, that's too much. Pacman, let's go Q. Yeah. So this is an Arch-based system, and it's a little bit different from a Debian-based system for a lot of the build dependencies. Right now, I'm just kind of looking through what I have installed on my system, just to make sure we don't miss any packages on an initial setup, because this just make life way easier. I do have Pipewire installed here. I wonder why I have those Pipewire packages. Excuse me. Are you still running dual GPUs? Yes. Yes, I am. Yeah. So always have like Windows ready to go over here on this this one. Did Windows not launch? Oh, there it goes. Your subscription expired. Oh, no. Good to know. So yeah, always have Windows going. I know some people are like, that's a waste of resources and power. To you, I say, yes, it is. But man, is it nice. Whenever I need Windows, I can just pull it up with a press of a button. And there's times I like that. A lot of times, especially with the Windows utility just being as big as it is now. What do you think of Basecamp's Omakub? I don't know. I don't know what that is. Again, not a developer. Not a developer. Just a guy that likes to hack around on stuff. Just so happens to have the second most starred GitHub PowerShell project in the world. Subtle flux. I still can't believe that. That's wild. All right, we got a ton of libraries. We do need to do 32-bit support here. Definitely add that in. Let's see. Haskell. What was I doing with Haskell? That's weird. It's a single command of Ubuntu's installer. omakub.org. What is that? Really? Developer setup for Ubuntu by DHH. Nice. Look at this, Chad. That's awesome. All right, let's see. Fresh install, fully configuration, modern web development built with a single command. Look at that. All right. He's got Alacrity. He runs ZelJ. What the hell's ZelJ? Terminal workspace with batteries included. Didn't know terminals need batteries. ZelJ is the future of terminal. Is this like another warp terminal crap? As long as it doesn't have a login, I'm okay with it. ZelJ. Looks cool. Kind of reminds me of like a pimped out Tmux. Anybody use ZelJ? Oh, it's a Tmux alternative written in Rust. Okay, so I wasn't too far off. As soon as I saw it, I was like, it looks like oh my Tmux. A pimped out Tmux. All right, basic functionality is ZelJ and terminal multiplexers in general. I really don't care about multiplexers since I'm a tiling window manager user, but still very cool. Let's see, session management, blah, blah, blah. Do you find yourself jumping from taxes? Okay, yeah. That's cool. Not for me, but very cool. I can kind of see what we got going on here. They got plugins, config lang. Scroll back in default editor, runtime, reboots, accept actions through CLI, improve, config. Yeah, very nice. Argon, thanks for the prime. Well, All right, stacking panel. All right, neat. Yeah, that's neat. I also was looking at, I don't know, did you guys see this warp terminal thing? This looked interesting too. Made by AI bros everywhere. It requires a login. But it was kind of cool. Kind of cool looking. You could do like command outputs. It has like old Jippity built into it. It was kind of a neat idea. Built with Rust. Must be good then. Everything that's good is built with Rust these days, right? I feel like Rust is like the new AI in the new AI in programmer languages now. It's like, I built mine in Rust, therefore it is superior to your non-smart C program that can have memory leaks. Yeah. So, but this is Rust and AI built together. It must be the best terminal editor in the world, right? Never Google a command again. Just ask Warp AI. How much do you pay for this terminal? You can have it for free right now for $0 a month. You sign up. It includes Warp AI up to 40 requests per user per month. You get a personal warp drive for notebooks and workflows. What will they think up next? I'll keep my plain Jane bash with Kitty for now. Anyways, I saw that. I saw the ZelJ and I was like, well, if you want Rust, why not toss a little AI in there and you got Warp Terminal. You can even pay for it and have a sign in and everything. Anywho, I'm sorry. AI bros. I need to make a video and be like, I've gone full AI bro, and then just go through the entire video and just install all this AI monetized crap on my machine. Just punk everybody. But April Fool's isn't for like another year, and who knows, it's probably going to be something different by the next April. It'd be fun though. Overall UI of Ubuntu is of course GNOME, and it's tweaked. Okay. Let's take a look at the script here. I really enjoy it, but I kind of want to just see what all he picked. The cool thing is, like, there's no right or wrong answer here when you're picking out what you have. I just love seeing unique workflows, and this guy has a unique workflow. I can tell already because I'm running into like, what's external? Besides the fact that I can't spell journal. Oh, I guess let's turn that on. Yeah. Take handwritten notes with ease for solving physics problems to make modern travel diaries. It's an open source cross-platform note-taking software that's fast, flexible, and functional. A modern rewrite and feature-rich of the wonderful external program. Huh. Okay. Handwrite your notes. Do people do stuff like this? I mean, it looks cool. I guess I use Excel Draw for a lot of my stuff where I'm just like, meh, gets it done. And it's open source and free too. But I mean, that's cool. 10,000 stars. So yes, people do use this. Neat. So if you want handwritten notes, check out this project. All right. Flame shot. Yeah. Love me some flame shot. That's right up here. I love my flame shot. That's cool. All right. So he and I use both that. Pinata or Pinta for quick image editing. See what he has here. Sorry, we're going down a rabbit hole of what tools do people use when you first install Linux. Honestly, this could be any operating system though. Free open source program for drawing and editing, image editing. The goal is to provide users with a simple yet powerful way to draw and manipulate images. Linux, Mac, Windows, BSD. God bless this developer for supporting all that. Does it have a dark mode? that's the very first thing I thought of. It looks feature rich though. And honestly, I don't really have an editor right now that I'm like, ooh, I like this. Penta. Is it in, let's see, is it in here? Paru, Penta. Yes, it's right. It's in Pac-Man by default. Drawing editing program modeled after paint.net. Okay, its goal is to provide simplified alternative to GIMP for casual users. Oh, that's kind of cool. Let's grab it. How lightweight are we talking? Let's just try it out. Penta. Okay, it does match themes fairly well. I kind of like it. I kind of like it a lot better than my other ways. So I was using like Nomax, and I don't really like Nomax that much. I think Penta is going to be my new one. Paint.net's right in my alley. As an old school Windows user, I think I found myself. I think I'm converting here, guys. I'm sorry. I gotta. I know I'm gonna offend a lot of the Nomax communities by saying this, but I think Penta's better, based on my 30-second review here. All right, I think Penta's what I'm gonna use from now on. All right, cool. Yeah, Paint.net's my favorite on Windows. Then Penta would be what you'd want for Linux. Unfollowed. I know. It's definitely not as lightweight as like the Nomax alternative. So if you want like a no nonsense, you don't want to ever edit, you just want to display images, Nomax is pretty solid. But I mean, I'm somewhere between your noob and expert user, like more of like the intermediate where I still have a lot of Windows user tendencies. Penta kind of scratches the itch for me. I think I like it better than the plain Jane. Sorry. Yeah. But this is open source, I believe, too. So, you know, let's see. Is it? Just to make sure. Before I go crazy. Yeah. Penta project on GitHub. Cool. Source code's available for development here. You can even create forks. Great. All right. Yeah. Penta. I'm on board with this guy. We're going to go Penta. I'm not going to use that. I just like Excel Draw a lot better. WhatsApp and Signal for messaging. I really don't message at all. I don't have any friends. So we're not going to do that. GH command for GitHub CLI. Actually, I do have like Discord here. You know. GH command for CLI. Yep. I used that already. Docker, pre-configured containers with MySQL and Redis. Do people's... I mean, I still use MySQL. I don't really use Redis. And Docker, I'm trying to use like Podman a lot more instead of Docker. I still always default back to Docker right now, though, just because I know it so well. Yeah, fair enough. And then Mize to manage Ruby and Node.js. What's this? Managing Node.js can be kind of problematic sometimes. Your front end to dev environment. Mise en place. Mise en place. Okay. Mise en place. Kind of weird. But apparently it sets up your environment for you. Huh. Cool. Probably just wing it. But neat for a lot of developers out there. No, and thank you. Do you know if there's a program like Barrier that works for Wayland? Bob Smash. Yes, I do. What you want is Input Leap. Let me just link it in chat for you. It's the only thing we have that might have Wayland support. So if you're interested in that, check it out. If you want like a Synergy alternative, obviously this is free and open source as well, but it's the closest thing we have to Wayland. I mean, it kind of works, I think, on GNOME, and I think some people have hacked around and got it working on KDE, so maybe sometime in the future. What's the latest? Does it even say? The interest in future support of Wayland, certificate called right here, blah, blah, blah. As of mid-2022, there's no expectation of completion date for Wayland support. Here's a bunch of things you can look at. Good luck. I say that as someone that's tried to do the Wayland Input Leap solution. I just couldn't. So, but it's the closest thing that we have to Wayland support for like a Synergy style type solution. So there you go. Fix for Framework 13's first generation display, so the fonts look proportional. Don't use Framework. Don't have Framework. Computer install instructions. Okay. Weird. I wonder why he based all this off of Ubuntu 24. Ubuntu 24 kind of sucks in my opinion. But let's see what we got for a script. Install script. Oh, he's using GNOME too by default. Gross. What's up with all these developers using GNOME? Ugh. Yeah. All right. Oh, I do like his color definitions here. That's kind of cool. All right. Install. What are we doing for? Wow, he really broke apart this bash script. Look at this. It's kind of insane. So each one's like a 5 or 6 liner for just pulling in, curling it, the latest version, extracting it, and then just doing a sudo install lazy git. Huh. Okay. Oh, that's different. Very interesting. So for NeoVim, he does the apt install first, grabs the starter. Oh, he's going lazy Vim here, grabbing a couple different themes. Yeah, I don't like at all how he did this. Whole thing's kind of gross. Okay, well, to each his own. Like I said, different flavors. Neat though. I appreciate you linking. I mean, I find at least a couple tools I'll steal from him that I was like, I didn't know about that. Penta's neat. .NET, Paint.NET, kind of alternative. Yeah, I guess for a web dev, you could just use Ubuntu. And Ubuntu's not awful. Well, no, it is. It's terrible. Don't use Ubuntu. I'm just like, I just can't get behind that. There's just too much setup that you have to do to make Ubuntu work these days where I'm just like, ugh, no. First, you got to get rid of like snapd. Otherwise, you get like a bit of a performance hit. And then you got to switch out. And then it sometimes will convert things from apt to snapd. And do they still do that Firefox snapd crap? Ugh, it's gross. Yeah. I just can't support that. I absolutely have to go Debian. I don't see a point not to. What distro do you recommend? Debian or Arch? I just got a recommended video of you with Ubuntu from years ago. I mean, Ubuntu 20 wasn't terrible. It was not bad. That was before like the snapd debacle. And I still rock a couple Ubuntu 20 servers, which is not bad. So as much as I crap on Ubuntu, I just using Ubuntu as a desktop environment for your desktop, your Linux desktop, just, man, it's a bridge too far these days for me. But I mean, Ubuntu server, you can still modify a little bit, and there's still some cool features for Ubuntu server, specifically live patch. Although I think that's like locked behind a subscription of like Ubuntu Pro now. I don't know exactly on that, but live patch was kind of neat. It was a neat idea for like upgrading like the Linux kernel without rebooting for some server stuff. Would you use it these days? I don't know. If it's there already and I don't feel like being lazy, then probably. But would I install it knowingly at the start of a project? Absolutely not. One of those things. All right. Moving on. We haven't gotten anywhere in the last 30 minutes. It's just me babbling. Let's get some work done. Work done, Chris. Get it done. What do we got? First off, development environment. So I want to say base devil is what Arch uses. Yes. The base devil is needed. So let's come over here. We have this packager. So it's grabbing the base devil already for Parolier. So you shouldn't need that. Now on Debian, on the other hand, though, we need to expand this out a little more. I don't really like how I'm doing my packager here. Let's do like an elif. Let's come over here. Let's go, instead of Pacman, let's go apt. And add in, what is the dev? I think I want to say it's like base, devil, cmake, make, and basic packages to compile and make programs on Debian. Tio, thanks for the tier 1 subscribe to it. Have you considered adding keyring and GPG repair entry? Oh yeah, that's a good one too. That'd be great. So we got build essential, cmake, and make. That actually is correct. All right, great. What else do we want to do here? I feel like the dependencies, let's first grab these guys. And what I kind of want to do is go compile dependencies. It's a little bit much, right? Yeah, let's go there with that. PJ, thanks for the prime. Yeah, build essential, cmake, make. What else are we gonna need there for Debian users? Debian, Ubuntu, same thing. Compile deps, agreed. I like that a lot better, thank you. I was like, that's a bit much. That's a word salad. Titus, did you notice the argument run.linutil-c? I have not yet, just Linux. Today we're trying to get the basic bash script for setting up a new Linux system. Both Debian and Arch probably is going to be the focus for today. Fedora is going to be more of an afterthought right now. I want to be able to compile programs. I also want to add 32-bit support. So add 32-bit support for Debian. Yeah, that should be good. What else we got? Oh, okay. It's a compatibility mode. No icons, no RPG. Oh, okay, cool. That's going to be nice that we could use all that too. Now, for this, before we go down this rabbit hole, let's just... So we install that and probably need to add 32-bit support for Arch. Now, this is, I think it adds... Okay. Sudo packager lib32. No, that's not right. That isn't right. Add it in pacman.conf. Yeah. There we go. Yeah, a little bit more there. 1 second. Don't like that either. Yeah, no. Oh. Let's redo that actually. Really? Yeah, because we need to do the update after that. I do want to make a verification. Verify multi-lib isn't already enabled. Arch does not have 32-bit support. Oh, yeah. This is just 32-bit libraries. I like that. So multi-lib gets enabled. Setup's done. So we got our 32-bit support in there. We grab our AUR helper. We're just checking that. And then we grab our dependencies for this. Base devil. Probably want to add in CMake and make. I feel like there's going to be some other packages here we should probably grab. CMake and make are the same on all Fedora, Arch, and Debian. So I think what we can do is put these up here. CMake and make. There's nothing really that needs to be compiled right here. Those should be in pretty much every package manager. What else do we have? So we got that. Packages here, multi-lib. Essentials there. Let's expand this some more. Let's see what it does for expand to include Fedora. Let's see what it does. Yeah, that's it. Development tools. Look at that. Did it right. Yay. Didn't hallucinate. Nice. Okay. So we got some development tools. We do our build essentials on Debian, and then we have base devil's already here. And then we have CMake make, but we're also doing 32-bit as well. Now, 32-bit libraries on DNF. I want to say enable 32-bit in Fedora. Did you watch WWDC? Now, isn't that the Apple thing? Not a big Apple guy. I heard you can move icons around or something now and put it down where your phone is. I was like, okay. I remember jailbreaking, like, I think it was the iPhone 3G back when they enabled exchange support for iPhone. That would have been, what, 2009? Maybe 2010. You could do it 14 years ago on an iPhone. I think it's funny that just it's taken them 14 years to figure that out. That's actually incorrect. Dang it. 32-bit libraries in Fedora. Yeah, there we go. That might work. I know the power tools is needed. Not sure. Nah, we're going to leave it. GCC lib for 32-bit is kind of nice to have. Okay. iOS at 18 might have T9 dialing. You know, T9 dialing was not that bad. I actually enjoyed T9 dialing. After you got used to it, it wasn't so bad. It's kind of cool. Dating myself a little bit on that one, but I mean, but I don't write like massive sentences. I never have. I still don't in text messages. What 32-bit on Arch? Arch does a pretty good job of dependency resolution, mainly just making sure multi-lib's enabled on Arch is the big deal. So then when we go to install Steam and that type of thing, it would be good to go. I really just kind of want to knock out most dependencies for compiling and having like base building software on Fedora, Debian, and Arch, because everyone's going to want this. This is mainly just packages everyone should use. It'll just make your life way better. There's not going to be anybody that's going, oh, you installed bloat on my system. They're going to be like, oh, thanks, Titus. That does make things easier for building. And like even like, let's say a complete noob, you're still going to want these packages because there's going to be some project that you're going to be like, hey, I need to build that. And having all these tools right there at your disposal is just very, very handy. Yeah, building tools drives me nuts. And it's wildly different depending on the distribution you're on. That's the other thing about it. Like you look at this and you have power tools to enable 32-bit libraries. I mean, honestly, this isn't really needed per se, but it's kind of nice to have. And then like here for Debian and Ubuntu and all those distros, you need to do the D package add architecture. That's pretty much all you need. And then build essentials, or build essential, I should say. And then for Arch, you're modifying pacman.conf and enabling multilib. So that's another big one. Explain, I'm not sure on this grep command. Is that enough? What if, let's just go. I do want to ask a question on this. What if the line in pacman.conf is this? Quote, pacman multilib checks the presence of multilib in without considering whether or not it's commented out or not. If the line in multilib, it means the multilib repository is coming out and not active, but your script will still treat it as if multilib is enabled because it only checks for the presence of the string. To handle this situation correctly, see, this is the worry. I was looking at grep and I was like, that command doesn't look quite right. And it only matches the multilib and not whether it's commented out. To do this, adjust the pattern, excluding lines that start with, okay. Here's how you can modify the script. Change grep so it uses to match the start of the line followed by any amount of white space, ensuring that it only matches lines where multilib is not preceded. Yes, apply that. That looks better to me. Now, okay. Nice. Yeah, very interesting. Yeah, I just saw that grep and I was like, okay, cool. Pablo, first time checking you live. Oh, thanks for dropping in, man. I've used Linux off and on for 20 years, but my early experiences were Slackware and Gentoo, which sent me down a different path. So everything's way easier for you now. You start with Slackware and Gentoo, everything's like a dream come true nowadays, I bet you. In line 114, the YQ stand for. Y, is that? What's the Q stand for? We're 114, YQ, that is the apt. Y is, what does the Q stand for? Stand for. Let's ask. Quiet. Yeah, there you go. I wasn't thinking, but I was like, I can't remember. And frankly, we don't really want it quiet. So let's not do that. Let's just have it verbose. But good to know. I like those kinds of questions. All right, so we have all this set. We can get rid of YQ dependencies down here as well. Now, I think that's a pretty good setup where we have the 32-bit support. We're doing development tools and some of the build essentials for pretty much the main 3 distros and all their derivatives. Grabbing this, Zoxide, Starship. I mean, honestly, everybody should use Zoxide and Starship no matter what prompt you end up on. NeoVim. I don't think we're going to use any of these additional dependencies. Well, we might change this up a little bit. I think this is fine, but we're going to just modify this. Just leave it for now. Just as a placeholder for extra stuff that I'm missing right now. How do we want to step through, and what user experience do we want to have on a system setup? Probably wine dependencies in Steam. planning on buying a Shure SM7B microphone. What audio interface would you recommend besides a Cloudlifter CL1? Well, the Cloudlifter is just an amplifier. Shure SM7, the Shure SM7B I think sounds like garbage, to be honest with you. It's muddy and it requires like setting the presence and making sure you don't kill your lows. Otherwise it just sounds thin. This is the 7B. This right here, that's a Heil PR40. The 7B is a de facto standard in podcasts like Joe Rogan and stuff. Here, we're going to go out on a little bit of a tangent here. Sorry for everybody else for the Linux stuff, but I got to correct this because audio is like one of the things that I like obsess over. I really like good audio. And the 7B kind of sucks. The reason why is this is great if you're Michael Jackson. The 7B is amazing if you're Michael Jackson and you have a really high voice because it kind of brings down those highs. However, if you aren't Michael Jackson or haven't been kicked in the nuts, it kind of sounds like garbage out of the gate. It requires the presence setting, and then it also requires a good EQ to sound okay. You know? And even then, it's okay. At that point, it's just passable audio for most people, and it sounds all right. Joe Rogan and those types of things, when you have two people in a podcast, you see 7Bs for a reason, because it's fantastic at background rejection. This thing passes, it's able to really kill past background. Like if you're in a very noisy environment and you want your microphone about a couple inches from your mouth, the 7B is fantastic. However, if you aren't in a noisy environment, it's the worst mic to get. It really is. And even in like most settings that I see, like Twitch streaming, YouTube videos, the other settings for that it's probably just an incorrect use of the 7B as well, because you have enough influence on your environment that it's not that noisy. And frankly, I probably would go with something a little bit different. Probably like a Shure, what is it? The MV7 probably would be a little bit more practical for most people. And the MV7 has USB support, I want to say, and also XLR support, and it also has the Cloudlifter built into it. So with the Shure SM7B, you already saying, I don't want to use a Cloudlifter with it, tells me you should not buy a Shure SM7B. I don't care if you're a millionaire, you shouldn't buy that microphone. If you don't want a Cloudlifter with it, then don't. Buy this one. That would be a better investment probably, and it's probably going to sound better for you. It does the same thing, has a lot of the same thing as a Shure SM7B. Now there is, let's say you're like, I have to have the Shure SM7B, Titus, but I still don't want another Cloudlifter to hang into it. You probably want the SM7DB. This is the exact same as the 7B microphone like here, but it has the Cloudlifter built into it. Now, personally, I don't like the Cloudlifter at all. I use something called a Soyuz preamp. And that preamp basically brings it up. It adds another 20 or 30 decibels. And it's made in Russia, which might be problematic given today's world. But I got it in like 2020 before all that. And I like it better than the Cloudlifter. I think it sounds a little bit cleaner. But both are very comparable. So you could go with these if you're like a big Shure fan. Yeah, that would be a better setup for you. However, I don't think you should do that. I think, you know, maybe the NV7 Plus if you want to go there. But if you have your heart set on that, you can go there too, depending on if you have a noisy environment. Me personally, I really love the Heil PR40. That's what I use. This is my main mic. This is what this is. This sounds amazing. However, it's not fantastic at background rejection. It does a decent job at background rejection, but not amazing. But it's much more, if you heard me in real life, you would say you sound exactly the same as you do on your streams or your YouTube videos. And that's what I'm going for. I want it to be as real as possible. So if you met me in real life, you'd be like, dude, that sounds exactly the same. That's what I'm going for with my videos and my live streams. I want it to be as real as possible. Now, to some people, that's not what they want. They want a more boomy radio voice, like the person that drives me crazy probably on YouTube. I love him to death. Don't take this as me not liking him. He does great videos, especially OBS. Epos Vox. I met him in real life, and he sounds way different because of all the audio treatment he does. And I hate the boominess of his voice on a lot of his YouTube videos. It drives me crazy. It's like nails on a chalkboard to me. And he hates the PR40. He likes that more radio sound. So if you're looking for that, like a probably Electro Voice RE20 is probably the next one that you'd go with. That's another one to get more of that broadcast announcer voice. You are listening to WB34 blah blah blah. You know, that real yeah, announcer's microphone kind of thing. And it's not for me. It just depends on you. But I'd say really you're either a Shure guy, an electrical voice guy, or a Heil guy. And it just depends on how you want your voice done. And for me, I want the natural solution. And to me, that's a Heil PR40. A broadcaster, that's going to be an RE20. Tons of background noise, or you have a really squeaky voice or a really high-pitched register voice, you're going to want like a Shure. And that's kind of the gauge I have for microphones done right. All of them are dynamic mics, because every other like gaming, like some people are like, what about that Razer mic or that gamer mic I saw at Best Buy? They all suck. They're all just the absolute dog crap, just straight up dog water, just awful microphones. You should never buy one ever. Maybe get like a $50 one off of Amazon, you know, maybe like a Fifine dynamic mic for 50 or $100 if you got to go cheap. That's a start. But buying the name brand like Logitech, Razer, you know, the only reason you see people ever shill that is because they get paid to and they're sponsored by that company. No one ever in the audio industry is like, use this. There's no audio engineer out there that goes, wow, those Razer mics sound amazing. You're like, that's a cheap piece of overpriced crap. Anyway, sorry. A little bit of a rant there on the dynamic mics. I don't know who that was for. I guess for that one person watching me. But now you know. The Rode Pod mic is good too. Yes, a Rode does make some good mics. I guess I should have added that one in there as well. That's also a very good one. What's a good ASMR mic? Dude, I don't get the younger generation with the ASMR. That's just not my jam. To me, it's hilarious that that's a thing. I mean, to each his own, you know. It's just cringe and weird and hilarious all at the same time. Alright, sorry. I'm gonna get canceled on Twitch for that one, but yeah. No. All right, sorry. Let's move on. Don't use apt command line scripting. Use apt-get. You know, let's see why. Let's ask. Why would you use apt-get instead of apt? Apt-get command is part of an advanced packaging tool, APT, and used by Debian, Ubuntu, and related distributions. Here's some reasons why one might choose apt-get over apt. Scripting and automation. Apt-get is considered more stable for scripting purposes because its output is more predictable and less likely to change in future versions. This makes it more suitable for scripts and automated tasks where consistent behavior is crucial. Apt-get has been around longer than apt, which was introduced to simplify some of the most packaging management mistakes and tasks. Advanced features. While apt covers most commonly used features in apt-get, which is more user-friendly interface, apt-get might provide more detailed options for advanced operations, such as handling complex upgrade paths and resolving package conflicts. habit, and preference. Some users may prefer apt-get simply because they are more accustomed to it, especially those who have been using Debian-based systems for a long time before apt was introduced. In your script, using apt is generally fine for interactive use, but provides a more modern and user-friendly output. However, if you're writing scripts intended for broad distribution for environments where the behavior must remain consistent across upgrades, apt-get might be a safer choice. All right, I like it. So let's change this. Okay, change my script to use apt-get instead of apt. Hey, Knight, how you doing? Things are going well here, man. Going well. Not making as much progress as I wanted, but that's all right. It's how it goes sometimes. If you need somewhat sound-treated environment, then a condenser microphone is going to get you a nicer sound for instruments and vocals. Yeah, that's a good one too. Like condenser mics can be very good, especially for sound instruments and vocals would be good. But for like the spoken word, I really like dynamic mics just because the background rejection's so nice. It's not going to pick up your air conditioner. Or I got a fridge about 5 feet from me that makes noise from time to time, and you're not going to hear that usually. I love your content, and I've been using Linux a while, and you've updated your PoE video as the tutorial video you created for PoE Linux does not work for me. Oh yeah, Path of Exile should just work right out of the box these days, Tiny Players, without any modification. Back in the day, we had to do a lot of changes, but yeah, the PoE video is probably deprecated at this point. Anyone know a good video converter that works with an AMD card on Debian? Handbrake should. Handbrake's still the de facto standard, I think, for video conversion. FFmpeg as well, but FFmpeg doesn't exactly have a GUI front end all that well. I mean, Handbrake still works good. I still use it. I know you guys are like all about the FFmpeg, but for a new user, Handbrake still, you gotta love. Oh God, I don't know what I'm doing with my theming here. What do I got going on here? Preferences. I think I need to switch some of my theme out. Anyways, you probably hadn't screwed up your theme, and it actually looks a lot better than this. But I still use Handbrake from time to time when I don't want to do that. Yeah, both work good. FFmpeg, if you want to stick to the CLI, is fantastic. Obviously, FFmpeg is going to be the fastest, and if you're familiar with its syntax, it's the best. But Handbrake is pretty much stupid simple, and it just works. How safe are those KMS servers to activate Windows? Just, I don't know. And when it comes to like getting Windows licenses these days, just use some shady third-party website, pay in PayPal just in case they try to rip you off, and you usually can get like a Windows license like 10 to 20 bucks. I say just do that, but obviously use PayPal so you can do chargebacks if you need, because PayPal will always side with the buyer. And those crazy third-party websites aren't exactly legal. I don't know if they're illegal either. You know, like G2A and I don't know. There's a gajillion of them out there. I always get sponsorship offers in my email about them. Please don't send me one of those if somebody runs one of those websites. I have zero interest in sponsoring you. But yeah, as far as that, yeah, you got massgrave.dev and some other ones that you could use to activate on less reputable. But again, I don't condone piracy. Just do it the legit way is what I would suggest. However, if you want to use anything I just suggested, you can in a pinch. It just depends. All right, so we've got that. We've kind of got our dependencies set up. Link config, we can get rid of that. We're not going to use. Let's get rid of that. So we got checked environment, Starship, Zoxide. That should be fine. I think it's Starship and Zoxide we're going to get rid of as well. Because just it could screw up some. There's going to be somebody out there that doesn't need those. And frankly, you're going to probably want to do like my bash as well. So let's just work on checking environment, dependencies, and additional dependencies. All right, I think that's a pretty good base platform. We create our Linux Toolbox directory if it doesn't exist. Should, if you've run MyBash or NeoVim setup. We have our Linux setup. We have checking the package managers, getting all that set for checking the environment. We install the base dependencies just to do compile, make, and any other basic things you need from your CLI, and then enabling 32-bit support so then you could install Steam and whatever else. We have a spot for additional dependencies to either expand this if we want. What do we need to do? Let's add OpenSUSE. Add OpenSUSE as well. All thanks for the Prime. I've learned so much from you in Linux and basic understanding. Thanks for the content. Good to hear, man. Hopefully I can continually improve. That's the big thing. Let's see. That doesn't look 100% right. Patterns devil, base devil, underscore basis. Let's just take this in. I want to create a new one. Will this enable 32-bit library support in OpenSUSE? Yeah, NWG looks usually what I need to do. It says it does work for OpenSUSE with these. We'll have to double check that. It doesn't look quite right to me, but it's been a bit. Oh, what do we got good? Let's see. Chatterino. What do we have? ZWM. X11 tiling window manager, work in progress. Hey, yesterday. Is this a new project? It looks like it. Minimalism, efficiency, performance. Okay. Brand new BSD2 clause license. Oh, what do we got for our source? Written in C. Interesting. It's a little bit different setup than what DWM uses. Still C, but there's no config.h. So you're setting up most of the hotkeys, it looks like, on the front end. Interesting. Huh, cool. Oh, man. Chris Balboa. Yeah, I've been trying to get more into, sorry for today. Usually I'm not wearing a tank top on stream. It's just, I'm about to go work out. I was doing about a 10-mile bike ride before I started the stream. That's why I was late. It started raining, so it took me a little bit longer to get back. And then I was like, crap, I got to do my high intensity workout here in like 30 minutes, actually. So, first time catching you live instead of the VODs. Yeah, I actually had someone contact me about the VODs on stream. Like, hey, you privated these VODs. What I like to do is take these entire recordings and then cut out all the silence in them, and then repackage them, and then redo the backing tracks, and then re-upload them to Titus Tech Talk on YouTube. It does make a better rewatch ability. If you ever watch like a VOD, like if you're a subscriber to the channel, I think you can watch the VODs. I don't know, are they public now? Well, regardless, like on Twitch, you can see the fully unedited ones and then watch the same VOD, but over on YouTube with the Titus Tech Talk. It takes me about an hour or two of time to do each one, but I feel like you can really, the watchability of the YouTube compared to the Twitch version, I think it's a lot better. I don't know. Maybe that's just me being, I don't know, optimistic or thinking that it matters that much, but I don't know. There's not very many VODs I'll rewatch, but there's times when I'm like, hey, I was working on this, and I'll go back to my VODs and I like them to be more rewatchable. Yeah, I've been trying to find that perfect balance on the cuts. So usually it doesn't cut out. I might cut it back a little bit more now that you say that, Just Linux. Usually I have it set to auto, and it's basically a tool. They say it's AI driven, but what isn't AI driven nowadays, right? But it's supposed to detect the period of silence and be able to cut a lot of that dead space. But I don't know. We'll see how it goes. Yeah, I wish I could have left that going with the chat feature on YouTube. I mean, it's still there, but it's yeah, just members only and those types of things, because it was just such a beating to moderate. We still have some moderators over on YouTube, and some people jump in, like Knight and Matt and Nick, I want to say, over on YouTube. So we still have some YouTube chat, but it's not nearly what it was. And that was kind of just because it was hard to moderate. And I didn't want any like nastiness popping in and showing on the screen too. So FT Labs PDWM. Okay, I am using the PyCon fork from FT Labs. So this would be interesting. Fully animated, supported, easy configurable PDWM. Who's this FT Labs guy? He's a bit of a genius, I gotta say. I really like a lot of his commits. Oh, wow. Okay, so PDWM and iOS WM are both suckless DWM forks. Both of them are in the repo, but you have to understand why. Also note that DWM is embedded in this project. You don't need to download it from elsewhere. For full animation, please install the PyCom fork, which we were doing. Any other PyCom fork won't work. iOS DWM is the oldest master branch of the project. This is changed to PDWM branch. Okay. With DWM blocks in it. Please note that DWM blocks uses libconf library, which you can add to the status bar with conf files or CFG files. Also, more than 10 status bar blocks available. All right. I don't know why you need more than 10. That seems a bit excessive. However, all these are installed on the base Arch Linux 2. Settings on the top bar. Let me see the full screen. Let's open that in the new tab. Doesn't even close. Interesting. I kind of like it. I kind of like it a lot, actually. Huh. Yeah, that is neat. A bit of a sidetrack for my PoE questions. I want to switch over to a different GitHub alternative, like Codeberg, and Codeberg, and the reason is that I don't support Microsoft to train their AI in project code, and want Codeberg as they value open source and don't train AI with people's projects. I think that's a legitimate concern. I think that's very good. Same with, I don't know if GitLab does it as well. You got GitLab, you got Bitbucket, you got Codeberg. There's a few others I've seen pop up as well. And I think that's great. Having Git other places is a great idea. So yeah, Git is another one. I think that's a fantastic deal. I throw it on GitHub just because, one, I don't care about that. If AI trains off of my code, that's going to be interesting. And frankly, it'd be kind of cool seeing my code being implemented elsewhere through like an AI bot. Be like, I wrote that. But the second is it just has the broadest reach as possible for GitLab or GitHub. So that's another thing. Like for me, a lot of my projects, the beauty of a lot of like the Windows utility, for instance, WinUtil. Oh, I forgot to tell people about this too. It has the broadest reach on GitHub, and I like that. The collaboration that I get from this GitHub is probably the biggest boon that I could possibly ask for. I don't know how much money I'd pay to just get the collaboration features. So I don't really care about a lot of the suggestions you made, but it's good to know that is there. So like, let's say you are a gifted developer and you're worried about AI stealing your code or implementing it somewhere else, and you have something more proprietary, I would never develop on GitHub. I would definitely do my own thing. Honestly, I don't think I would trust any platform with that. I would do a localized Git instance that only me and maybe my team, if I had a development team, that would have access to. Putting stuff online is just, if you have anything proprietary in a business sense, I just don't trust the cloud anymore at all. Like, full stop. If you are a business and you are making a piece of software and you are relying on the money generated from that software and you're putting your source code on a cloud-based service, you're stupid. You shouldn't do that. I know that's like a pretty hot take, but I think everything should be on-prem at that point. You should guard that source code like your life depends on it. And a lot of these leaks and things that are happening all over the place, that's because it's all on this cloud-based crap and they just hand out everything all willy-nilly. Go old school with it, you know? Cloud is just another term for someone else's computer, exactly. And the cost savings is negligible these days. Back in the day, going cloud meant a huge cost savings. But these days, it really isn't. Maybe for like Exchange or something like that, but for source code, I just don't get it. I just don't understand it. But that's just my, yeah. Like the GTA source leak. I mean, there's just so many different examples you could use here. But yeah, that's just my thought process. But yeah. Oh, and also I wanted to mention this before I get to two sidetracks on the Windows utility. I do have a new action that gets run. So the releases now, every pull request comes through the main branch, and that way it'll get committed directly. But anytime I make a commit and I bring in a pull request, it creates a release over in the releases tab. This does two different things for any open source project. We'll do this for the Linux utility as well. Now, the releases tab, if we look at it, you'll see this is all auto-generated, meaning it kind of grabs everything, puts it up, and then it has this PS1 file. This PS1 file gets called directly when we do like an RM in PowerShell. So that means if you're in India or even, I want to say some South American countries, they block all GitHub user content from raw files. What does that mean? It's very, very easy to kind of look. So how I used to call the project, like if you go back just a couple days ago, I would grab the raw file and it would be raw.githubusercontent.com. This domain is blocked in a lot of other countries. So distributing it like this was good, as long as you're not in one of those countries. If you are, a lot of times the link would just fail. No longer. So now what we can do is, instead of calling it directly from the project, and let's say even like pulling a bad pull request, that's okay. Everything is referenced now, and I manually change when you're running like the chris_titus/win command. It manually runs this one right here. And this, if you hover over it, you can see this is pulling directly from github.com, and it's a /releases, which doesn't get blocked in any country that I know of. Maybe you'll correct me if wrong here, but this is a fantastic way of distributing a project by doing a full release. And even if I do a bad pull request, well, guess what? This release is set in stone. Or you go, you know what, Titus, I really don't like the development path you've chosen here, but it used to be good 1 month ago. Well, you can just go back in time and pull this one. This is from 6.5. So if you pull this one, you could do an IRM, github.com, the full address, and then just pipe it into an IEX. And then you'd be running a old version of Win Utilities from here. Or let's say you want to go all the way back to April 420, right? Well, you can just come here, grab this address, do an IRM of it, IEX, and then bam, you're back in time 2-3 months. And that is kind of cool. So if there is something that you find, you can easily transition back to an older version. It's a great way of doing releases, I think. So this is the future of a lot of like my Git and how I'm developing and releasing projects, instead of doing like a test branch where everything's going to be done on main, but it's still going to be very, very stable because of how we're doing the PRs going forward, and the releases specifically. Utilizing releases and tags was a missing piece of the puzzle, and now you can see we're actually using it correctly now, which is fantastic, and it's all automated. So a great way. Yeah, you can always do git clone and git checkout, but the problem with those things, because we're still referencing the file here, one, it's still using GitHub user content using the old method. Two, the other thing is the blocks that we talked about, and also, if I do a bad PR, it breaks it for everybody on the main branch. That's why I use test branches, because I like to test it a lot beforehand. Well, now I don't have to worry about the test branch or any of that. I can just do the merges into main, and if it breaks, well, it doesn't really break the project because everyone's referencing the release, not this version. So a very cool way of kind of evolving the run and development of it. Yeah, and real developers test in product production. So I think it's cool. I think it's a great way to manage projects. So yeah, a very, very cool. And also too, the other thing that was happening with the old way I was doing it with the test branch, and I didn't like this, and Monk and many other developers that have pushed into the Windows utility project, you didn't get really good credit or blame. I really like Git blame. I touched so much of the code during the testing phase that pretty much anytime something screwed up, it was my fault. Now, since we're doing direct merges, Git blame is going to work a lot better because I don't have to touch everybody's code, so I don't get blamed for everything. So I like that. I like that. So yeah, that's how we're gonna do the Linux one as well. Now, one other thing. Now, let's pull up GitHub Desktop. I think we have a pretty good set for this. Let's add in. Actually, I'll just do it over here. Git status. So we have the setup. Let's go chmod setup.sh. I think we have a really good basis for just setting up a develop environment. We didn't get to wine. I really wanted to think more about wine, Steam, and a lot of the other things as well. So the next stream, let's dive more into that. I'm going to think offline on how to probably do this the best way. But for now, initial compile setup is what we're going to do here, just so we have this project up for the initial Linux setup. So you could run this on OpenSUSE, Fedora, Arch-based systems, Debian-based systems. All of it will work pretty good, or at least it should. And then we're going to link this back into our Linux Toolbox as well. You don't have a git ignore. Yeah, this one is just using a bash script right now. So we don't need the git ignore right here because we're not doing it in compiles. This one's just going to be linked directly to how we've been doing like my bash. So if you go to my bash, you'll notice there's no git ignore over here either. So these things are just run directly for the specific things. And I don't know if we want to do it quite like this. We might rename this Linux setup script like compile setup. And then we'll have wine, Steam, Lucher setup, like a gaming setup, I think. And then we'll probably do something like that. Cargo run -c. Okay, let's come over to linutil and you cargo run -c. Cargo run. Oh, just linutil -c. Let's see. Oh, -c. Oh, okay. Oh, cool. So if you're doing it like from TTY or something, you would do the -c because you wouldn't have access to some of the libraries and such, which is cool. That's very neat. Yeah. That is very slick because a lot of people, well, because it's like with just regular linutil, you have this, but it does require some libraries specifically for kind of jumping into some of these categories. So when you're running like this kind of command, actually, let's just come into here, like neovim. So this is like a good example of kind of showcasing how it nests in there. And with TTY, that wouldn't work. So when you do it with a -c, what does that look like? I wonder. Let's just see. Linutil -c. Let's go in. Oh no, it still works. Okay, that's cool. All right, yeah, man. It will still work. So you can still do nested windows even with like a TTY type setup. I like it. I was having issues with Virt Manager and KVM. Yeah, we're going to be doing something Night Manager when it comes to a whole virtualization setup. The idea is to kind of take apart every pain point of setting up Linux and then just have those really modular. Because there's some things that I'll do that you may like, and some things I do that you're like, I don't want to do that, Titus. You're good. You've lost me on this. And I want to make sure you can just choose what you want to set up in your Linux, and then it sets that up. And that's the big thing that we're doing here. That's why everything's really kind of modular, specifically like over the Linux setup. If we go over this directory, I think moving this setup.sh actually to compile setup, probably like one dash compile setup.sh. I think that's probably the better way. Modular setup is what we'll name this. And what I'm going to do is different bash scripts for each phase of the system setup. That way, if you want to skip a phase or say, I don't like the way you do gaming setup, or maybe it's a Linux setup, but you don't want any gaming compatibilities, you wouldn't run this next step, which would be to-gaming-setup.sh. And then that way you can pick and choose kind of how your system's set up. Grub bootloader theme, that's going to be handled by probably the bootloader setup project, but we've got to modify and change all that around too. It's been a while since I cleaned up that project, and it's overdue for an overhaul. You lose me at all your drives. Yeah, I have a few, huh? I have just a scooch on the drives in this system. All right, let's show it down for today. Next stream, gaming setup. Sorry for this one to be such a short stream, but that's okay. We'll get it done. And I'm going to think more on the structure there. I think really towards the end, I felt better about the structure and kind of doing it. It's just about making those small progresses every day. Just a little bit every day, getting a little bit closer to what we want and kind of taking our time. There's no reason to rush all this. That's why I'm just kind of taking my time, kind of going through it. Answering stuff in chat is kind of nice. And yeah, I get sidetracked, but I really want to spend a lot of time making it, thinking about a lot of everybody's input. So I really appreciate everybody in chat giving that input back to me as we're making it. Or, hey, I don't like this, or I do like this. What about this feature? And then we can add that into there. So we'll just keep going through it and keep knocking things out as we go, and we're set up. So are you going to make a Linutil paid version? Linux people don't do paid anything. I'll add like a donate button, I guess, maybe. But that's the gist of it. Yeah, if you want to make money, don't make Linux programs. That's, I mean, it's a sad truth. Be a Mac developer if you care about money. You all know how much I hate Mac. But it's just how the world works. I will be stealing a bunch of the work. Good. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, if you like money, don't develop for Linux, probably. There's no way to really make a lot of money in Linux. Closed source and binary files are your friend for a lot of that stuff. And most of that is much more prevalent in the Mac space where everything's an app store. There's a lot of money there. Windows has a good mixture too. I think Windows, you can make a good bit of money doing like a binary file or just having like an executable. Like that was the huge turn on for like Windows utility, just having an exe instead of having to open up PowerShell. That's really all you get from that, and people liked that. But yeah, this will have a binary file with the Rust, but that'll be able to be run directly using like a curl, and then just grabbing it in and then running it from either a temp directory or directly in direct from online, because it'll be so small, and all it is just a compilation of all the scripts to basically make it as good as possible for Linux. Yeah, and everything's like MIT licensed, so you can easily take this and compile it yourself, copy it, do whatever you want. Like all this is open source. So there's nothing here that you'd contribute and then it just disappears or gets put behind like a paywall or something like that. That's the beauty of doing all of it live here on the live stream, and also just everything else. So, all right, guys, I'm out. See you guys Thursday for the next one, unless I jump on later tonight. We'll see how I'm feeling. I still got to finish my defensive driving because that's kind of coming up against the deadline, and I don't feel like the police coming after me, so I got to make sure I get that. Otherwise, I got to pay a speeding ticket and whole different thing. So we'll see how far. I still got like 2 hours left on that. I should have just gone and done a course in person. That was a mistake, probably. Anyways, later all.